Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited to be back, and yeah, today I have a special guest with me, and he is a founder of a company called Curist. Welcome very much to my YouTube channel, and I'm so happy to have you here all the way from Emil. Luleå, sorry. Yeah. I'll let you introduce yourself, so you can look in the camera and introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Emil. I'm originally from Västerås in Sweden, but I currently live in Luleå and have been doing so for the past 10 years. I'm one of the founders and CEO of the medtech company Curist.
What do you do in daily life, like
in terms of hobbies or?
Yeah, no, work.
Work. Well, I run a startup company called Curist. Mm-hmm. And I'm the CEO, I guess, even though we're a small company. We're about 7 employees at the moment.
Right.
And we are trying to grow the company to attract more talents and able to help build a more sustainable future within the healthcare industry and physiotherapy.
Right. So tell us about your career path and what you've been doing before you created Curist.
Well, I moved to Luleå about 10 years ago to study.
Yeah.
To become an engineer within industrial engineering.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have any plans on starting or form a company at all.
Right.
The only thing I knew that, like, once I've graduated, I don't want to go to a large corporation and just become like one small piece in a very big corporation. I wanted to work in a smaller corporation in order to learn and to get more responsibilities. Right. And to be able to grow yourself together with that organization. And so I started working for a pretty small company up in Luleå. It's a tech company developing various types of software.
Right.
And they had an idea for Curist, which they had started to develop with physiotherapists from Danderyd Hospital here in Stockholm.
Right.
So they actually asked me after a while if I was interested to form the company Curist together with them, to take this idea from just a prototype and start to develop a company.
Right.
So that's how I came in contact with Curist and formed Curist together with them.
Okay, so the idea was basically from some prototype from the company, and then you developed it to a real...
Exactly.
Right.
So when we started out, we just had... We had a prototype which was functioning, but when I think back of it, it's kind of embarrassing that we tried to sell it. But we started out, it was just me in the operational team, and then, well, I managed to get some funding. We hired our first salespeople, we hired our first developers, right. And that's how the company started to form, more or less, I guess.
Great. What was most challenging starting up?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think we've been pretty fortunate because we've been part of the incubator in Luleå as well. So we always had really good business advisors and that kind of talent around us, right. Or around me to, push me in the right path and give me really good advice on what to do.
Right.
And that's been really, really helpful. And I can't emphasize that enough, that if you have that kind of opportunity to get, business advisors and that kind of stuff, help with funding, take it, because there are really good networks in Sweden for that. Well, yeah. In order to get that kind of help. But that's been really helpful for us, and if we didn't have that help, or if we weren't part of the incubator, I think it would have been a lot more challenging, yeah. And we wouldn't be where we are today without without that help.
Right. So when you talk about business advisors, are you talking about people that you've hired, or you just go out and look for them?
They are a part of the incubator. So
Right.
once you get accepted into the incubator, it's like you are my designated business advisor.
Right.
And if we click, and then we have a pretty ongoing collaboration and weekly follow-ups and all that kind of stuff to make sure, like, okay, what have you been doing? What should you be doing? What are the results? Instead of just starting a company and don't really know what to do.
So they're engaged in having follow-ups to your progress.
They are very engaged in having follow-ups and actually also advising on what to do. And especially with the funding when starting out, they've been very, very helpful with that, because there are a lot of like easy money to get if you know where to search for it.
Exactly.
In Luleå, it's called Arctic Business Incubator, and they are mainly focused on the space and mining industry. In Västerås, you have Create, and then you have a pretty famous one in Stockholm, which I can't really remember the name of now. Spike or Strike or something.
Okay, we'll have a Google search. Yeah.
But there are incubators all over, and you can also go international, but I think like every major city has an incubator, and often connected to like the science parks of each city. So just look up what field you're interested in starting a company in, and if you have an idea, you can go and pitch for them. If you want to do a medtech company, like perhaps Luleå isn't the most ideal place. It's better to go to Umeå or Uppsala.
Right. Okay.
But it's been really helpful.
That's a good thing to say, that don't stay in one place. You can also try other cities or other places.
Exactly.
So where did you study? Because now we need to know about a little bit background of what you studied and what led you there.
University or?
Yeah, university.
Well, I studied in Luleå, and I studied industrial engineering.
Right.
And the reason I ended up in Luleå was, well, three reasons. I knew I wanted to study abroad, so I looked up which schools had the best exchange programs.
Right.
And I really like snowboarding, and I really like winter. So I thought, like, well, Luleå's a very good place to be, with long winters and lots of opportunities to be outdoors and, ice skating, snowboarding, cross-country skiing, that kind of stuff. And I also thought, like, well, if I'm gonna move away from my hometown, I might as well move for real, not just go to to Stockholm or Uppsala, which is just 1 hour away. I might as well go 11 hours away.
Right.
Try something new.
Right. Why did you choose to become an entrepreneur?
I don't think I really choose it. It's been kind of lucky, I think, or I got an opportunity. I never had the idea of becoming an entrepreneur. I thought that was how I was gonna be an entrepreneur. It's just like if you see an opportunity and you think like you just want to have fun as well.
Right.
So if you see something that this could be a nice opportunity, it's going to be challenging, but I think I'm going to learn a lot, and I think I'm going to learn a lot more in this position than just being in a regular company.
Right.
Because you have to do so many things simultaneously, and it's a pretty steep learning curve.
Right.
So I think it was the challenge and the opportunity to try new stuff and learn new stuff, I guess.
When you chose I'm going to go back a little bit. When you chose the program that you chose, was it your first choice, or did you have anything else in mind, or were you just...
It was my first choice, but industrial engineering, it's a pretty broad education. And the reason I chose that was, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I still don't know what I want to do, I guess. So I just chose the path that was the widest, that gave the most opportunities.
Right.
And it was the same thing when I chose my high school. I chose the program which provided the most opportunities to go next. Because, and then just...
Let me guess, technique?
Yeah, something in that area.
Yeah.
But then, life is just something that happens around you, so you can't really plan anything. Just do stuff that you think feels inspiring, funny. Everything can't be funny all the time, but something that is challenging, inspiring, and feels like this is interesting for a while at least.
Well, we want you to tell us about your company and your product. How does it work? And all that.
Well, we're a medtech company. And we started out as a collaboration with physiotherapists from Danderyd Hospital here in Stockholm. And I don't know, like, if you've ever gone to a physiotherapist or had that kind of treatment before, but like 9 out of 10 people say that it's pretty tedious, it's not very motivating, it's very hard to do. You know, you go and see your physiotherapist, you do a couple of scanning exercises, and then you get a piece of paper with some exercises that you're supposed to do in your home. And all the research just show one thing. It's like 15 to 20% of people actually do their exercises. And the remaining 80% don't. And this means that people are not going to get better. Short-term pain is going to develop into long-term pain. And this is a problem for individuals and for society as well. So the idea from the physiotherapist here in Stockholm, it was like, okay, we got to find a way to make physiotherapy more effective by making it more motivating and a bit easier to do and a bit funnier. But we wanted to take that one extra step into in terms of efficiency. So we started using VR headsets, which we, together with pain researchers and experts, we develop exercises based on the knowledge that is available today. But the thing is that the patient puts on the headset. Instead of doing the exercise you get from a piece of paper, they feel like they're playing a game, more or less. So it's the same movement, but it's much easier to do, and it's a lot more fun, and it's easier to do it correctly. And at the same time as you're exercising, we gather a lot of data about how you are moving, and we send that back to the physiotherapist. So it doesn't matter if, like, we're in the same room, you're my patient, I'm the physiotherapist, or if I'm in Luleå and you're in Stockholm, I can still follow you and see if you are doing the exercises. And if you are doing them, which 90% of our patients are doing, we managed to turn that 80% don't do them to 90% do them.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then that gives a lot of effect on people's well-being. But as a physiotherapist, you can also see, okay, I gave you a couple of exercises. Did I actually give you the correct ones? Perhaps I should make it a bit harder for you or a bit easier, depending on, like, everyone's, you know, all individuals are different. So it's not just one size fits all. You can actually follow up, measure, and see which exercises are the best one for each individual.
This is really good, because I've seen a couple of patients. I've never been into that kind of situation, but I've seen people who get papers, and I think you just get the papers and throw them down there.
More or less, or you try for a while.
At
least, and there are some people that actually, you know, do them to the correct amount, but you know, it's hard to do, and it's hard to know if you are doing them correctly.
So how do you do the how to pay? Oh, how should I say this? This is not part of the question, but now I'm wondering, the payment, do the patient get the product themselves, or the hospitals provide them?
Well, both. We started out just selling to hospitals and clinics. So existing physiotherapists can buy the product and use it on patients. And they can decide for themselves if they want the patient to come to the clinic and rehabilitate with the tool at the clinic, or if they want to lend it to patients and they can do it at home. But about a year ago, we did a test where we just sent a couple of headsets to individuals with long-term neck pain, and they got so good in a very short amount of time. They've been suffering from whiplash for like 25 to 30 years and experience pain every day. And after about 6 to 8 weeks, they got significantly better. Some people even got off pain medications, which they've been taking for like 20 years. So after that, we just decided we should be a healthcare provider ourselves. So we are still providing it to hospitals, but if people want, they can contact us through our website. They get a first initial meeting with a physiotherapist, where they ask a bunch of questions just to make sure that can we actually help you, or are you seeking help for something that we can't treat today. And if it seems to be a good fit, then we just send a couple of headsets to you, which
Yeah.
you get in your mailbox. You unbox them, you start a video chat with a physiotherapist, and then you start exercising. And we do follow-ups using video calls.
Yeah.
So we are never in physical contact with the patients. We do everything remotely.
Yeah.
And it's working really, really good.
Did this exist before Corona, or was it just?
It didn't exist before Corona. We became a healthcare provider last year, but Corona has definitely helped in some regard that it's easier for people to see why they should be able to do stuff from home and not having to go to your clinic for every meeting and every follow-up.
This is really amazing. It's a really good thing, really. What are some of the biggest challenges that you have had introducing this idea to the market?
I think it's probably the same for every new idea. Like if you're trying to change stuff.
How
and
things work.
Yeah, people are used with how things work, and they're always, you have to push people forward in order to make them realize that this is a better way to do it in terms of, people's healthcare, efficiency, cost savings for society.
Yeah.
So it's probably the same for every industry. When you're trying to take something that's, it's the norm, it's an old concept that has existed for a long time, and do it in a completely new way.
Yeah.
Of course, you're gonna meet some hurdles along the way, but we're just trying to focus on the patient because we actually see that it's better for them, and just let them tell the story.
Right. Have you had patient reviews that are high compared to what was before?
Oh yeah, we have a couple of them on our website where people are telling their life story. Right. One guy, for example, he's been suffering from a whiplash, I think it was for 25 or 30 years. And then he started rehabilitating with us last year, and this year he managed to put up all the Christmas decorations all by himself, which he hadn't been able to do for the past 10 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's stories like that also motivates you, and
definitely.
It's very fulfilling.
Yeah, definitely. What makes the business or your idea stand out most in the market?
I think it is that we are introducing something new. We're taking an old concept and just modifying it. Like in terms of research and science, we're not trying to invent physiotherapy, or we know what things are working and what things are not working.
Not working, yeah.
And the things that are not working is that people are not exercising enough because it's hard to do and it's not very motivational. And the second thing is that it's sometimes very hard to get a meeting with your physiotherapist.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to wait in line for weeks even to get your first meeting. So what is revolutionizing with us is that we are providing you with availability and an easier way to do physiotherapy that is also quality assured all the way through.
Right. It is really, because now I feel like I'm not watching these fiction movies where they provide actually medical, because I've seen it probably in the movies, but that you bring it to reality, it really makes sense.
Yeah, and that's perhaps one of the challenges as well, because often when we meet with hospitals and other organizations, they can always, or often they say, oh, this is the future. But for us, it's not the future. This is the present.
Right.
And we've been doing this for the past 2 years. So it's time to stop talking about the future and actually start working in the present in order to change stuff and move things for the better.
Right. Since startups get a lot of challenges starting up, how would you advise someone who seek investors or to seek kind of investments?
Well, first of all, I would recommend everybody with an idea or an idea to start a company is just try and find various networks.
Right.
There is so much help to get, and there are so many people willing to help. So I really feel it's an open community where people want to share their experiences and knowledge.
Right.
Being a part of an incubator or like a talent network or something really helps. And from there you can get help in order to reach out to investors or find soft money, or wherever you are in your process of building the company. Perhaps it's too early to get investments, or perhaps it's too late, something you should have done a while ago.
Yeah.
So always talk to the people that have been on this journey before, and don't feel afraid to share your idea.
Right.
Like, people usually says that it's just like 10% is about the idea and 90% is about execution.
Right.
So if you share your idea and talk about it openly, it's like nobody's going to go and steal it, because it's a lot of work building a company. It's not just you have a superb idea and then it just happens overnight. You can have the best idea in the world, it's still going to be a challenge.
So advice, networking, and also don't be afraid to talk about your idea. So Reis.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who wants to start up their own company right now?
First of all, I would encourage people to think if it's something they want to do by themselves, or if they actually should work better with a co-founder, someone who can perhaps challenge or add on some traits and personality traits that you don't have. Perhaps you're the one coming with ideas all the time, but you're terrible at execution. Then you need someone who actually executes your idea.
Right.
And then, like I said before, just start networking. Find out where are there like clusters of people which are pretty easy to connect with, and start getting experience, getting knowledge from.
I was listening to a podcast on YouTube, and the guy was like, he invests in real estate, and he said, I had no money, but I had the idea.
Yeah.
So he went to the people who had money with his idea.
Yeah.
And it's always worked out like that.
And the thing, before you go to the people with money, perhaps talk to some other people that has done the journey before, in order to you prepare a good pitch and you actually connect at the correct level, so you don't just look like a lunatic with an idea, just seeking funding.
So search out people in that very area, or it doesn't matter, because maybe you're selling the tech right now, and maybe I'm in fashion. Does it matter?
Well, the fashion industry is always moving towards tech as well. You can have, for example, like apps scanning your body, so you know that the clothes that you buy online is a good fit.
Right.
So a friend of mine actually had an idea for that, and it's pretty successful as well.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't okay, you're in the fashion industry, there's a gray zone.
Yeah.
Perhaps you're in a lot of industries at the same time.
Right. What advice would you give your younger self?
Surround yourself by people that inspires you. Like I said earlier, I didn't really have a vision or an idea of becoming an entrepreneur.
Right.
It kind of happened. But now, when I'm in this space, I think it's really inspiring, and it's easier to get more ideas for different businesses, just because you surround yourself by other people that are inspiring, that has a lot of ideas, and are facing similar challenges that we are facing. So you can learn from each other and just and collaborate in a way.
Right. So I have one last question. Have any follow-up questions that you want to ask?
Well, I can ask. You mentioned that you did not want to work for anyone else who made other decisions, and this is one of the reasons why you kind of ventured into your own company. But I mean,
well, I didn't want to work in a big corporation.
Okay, yeah. So you didn't want to work in a big corporation. So what's the reason for that, and if you can just share a little bit of the benefits of not working in a large corporation compared to actually working for yourself? Because where I'm coming from is there are big challenges, in actually getting your own company up and running.
Yeah.
And these challenges, sometimes they can be more challenging than actually having the comfort of working for a larger corporation. So can you just tell us about your choice and why, the differences between the two?
Yeah. Well, I think there's no, like, everything depends on who you are as a person. Like, if you want to go and work for a big corporation, I think that's great, because there are a lot of existing knowledge, there are a lot of people that have experience, that have been there for a long time, and perhaps in different companies before they got to that position, that you can learn from and become a specialist in your area. For me, I just felt that I wanted to work in a smaller corporation, just because you can become a bigger part of the corporation. If you're just 10 people and you're one of them, you're 10% of the company, compared to if you go and work for a company with 10,000 employees, you're just, I can't do the math, but you're a very small part of it. So that was the reason for me. I wanted to try, fresh out of university, I wanted to try more stuff, because I still didn't really know what I wanted to work with, even though we covered a lot of areas in university. So I guess for me it was just like getting more responsibility and the opportunity to try more things within that organization.
Yeah, by the way, now that, speaking of that, I understand where you come from, because I'm not going to mention the company, but I worked for a company in Solna that is very huge. And I noticed that you don't even get the effectiveness of being productive, because nobody actually cares what you're doing or if you're growing, because there is a lot of things to do. And that's where I took a decision that I don't want to work for a big company. You're barely noticed, you're barely like put into the right path of progressing. So rather than being in like a small group where it comes with its benefits, but also like they have really they watch out for what you're doing. Exactly. They correct you when you're wrong, they give you feedback, and rather than in a big company, nobody really cares what you're doing. Yeah.
But I think also, like, even though if you apply for a job within a small company, it's like, it's not necessarily that it's going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
If the people that have founded that company or working in that company, if they are not like good managers or good bosses, it's going to be a terrible first job for you, or if it's your second job or third job. And I think it's kind of the same in a big corporation. If you get a really good boss or a leader that is trying to encourage his employees or her employees to develop, I think that's great. But it's just like in a smaller company, if you don't do your job properly, or if you do your job properly, either way it's going to be noticed.
Yeah, exactly. Marcy, do you feel like you got the answer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic answer. May I ask another one? So what's your main drive that actually makes you reach the goals that you're working for?
That's a good question. Well, life is about 3 things more or less. It's about sleeping, it's about working, and it's about your spare time.
Yeah.
And if you can have a job that is a huge part of your life that you think is it is a challenge, and perhaps that motivates you, perhaps it doesn't. It's not for everybody, but I think like actually working with something and working with colleagues that is a good workplace, they are inspiring, you learn new stuff, and you're actually trying to change something, and you believe that you are doing something for the better. That's a huge motivation in order to continue, because it's every week has its ups and downs, and it's not like a ferry ride where everything goes in the right direction. Some days are really, really tough, but especially like for Curist, when we hear about a patient that hang up a Christmas decoration for the first time in 10 years, that is a huge reward, even though I've never met the dude. I don't even know his name. But knowing that we're doing that for people, and potentially we can do it for a lot more people, that is very, very motivating for me, at least.
Right. I was so curious because I'm so obsessed with sustainability. I'm so obsessed with how companies work with sustainability. That's why I'm curious to know, how do you guys work with sustainability?
Well, since we are trying to change physiotherapy in a way, we are working a lot with social sustainability, I guess, just by doing what we are doing. If we get people to feel better, to be more active, to have a more fulfilling life, it's a lot more sustainable for the individual and for society as well.
Right.
Because you cut down on cost of unemployment, early pensions, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And another thing, I guess, is also the environment. Since we don't require our patients to travel anywhere, they can do it from their own houses, from their homes.
Yeah.
And we just send out the necessary equipment using, well, the regular post.
Yeah.
We can reach a lot of patients with very small resources that are tearing on the planet.
Yeah.
Because once they are done with the rehabilitation, they are sending the stuff back and we are sending it to the next patient.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to work with like a concept of circularity or circular economy.
So when you receive the material back, you wash it, or like how?
Yeah, we wipe everything off and make sure that it's that is how you want to find it.
Yeah.
And then we can send it to the next patient. Yeah.
This is really amazing. I love to see that what I saw in the movies is up in the reality. I hope I don't need physical, how do you call it? Yeah.
But I think like that sustainability it's kind of like incorporated in the business idea.
Yeah.
So it kind of happens by itself. Of course, we're always thinking about it, planning for it, but it's kind of happening by itself because, you know, the idea is just to make physiotherapy easier and more sustainable.
Yeah, that's amazing. Emil, this comes to the end of this video or this interview. So I really want to thank you for coming. Thank you for taking your time off.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Any other last thing you want to say to us or to the viewers? Anything, any advice, whatever?
Make sure to subscribe.
Oh, so you watch YouTube a lot. Thank you really for coming. I hope, I really pray that this really grows bigger than Luleå.
Yeah.
We receive it in Stockholm as well.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, we can?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know. Guys, this brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe.
See ya.